Emily had always loved nature, even when she only saw it through photographs in books. Growing up in a crowded city, she rarely had the chance to stand in wide open spaces or hear real silence. So when her magazine asked her to take pictures of a remote ranch for a travel feature, she felt both excited and nervous. It was her first time traveling this far from busy streets and tall buildings. She hoped she was ready for it. The long drive to the ranch gave her plenty of time to think. As the roads became smaller and the air turned fresher, she kept looking out of the window like a child seeing the world for the first time. She saw rolling fields, wooden fences, old barns, and animals grazing peacefully. It was so different from the fast-moving world she was used to. She felt like she had stepped into a place where time slowed down. When she finally reached the ranch, she parked her car near a wooden gate and took a deep breath. It smelled of clean grass, dust, and warm sunshine. A man approached her with slow, confident steps. He looked like someone who had spent his whole life outdoors. His clothes were simple, his boots worn, and his eyes calm. This was Ryder, the rancher the magazine had told her about. They said he knew the land better than anyone else, and Emily could see that just by the way he walked, relaxed yet alert. "You must be Emily," he said with a friendly smile. His voice carried the steady tone of someone who didn't rush for anything. She nodded and introduced herself, holding her camera case tightly like it was her safe place. Ryder noticed her nervousness but didn't mention it. He simply helped her carry her bag, leading her toward the main house where she would stay. The ranch house was old but beautiful, made of wood that had faded into gentle earth tones. It felt warm and welcoming. Inside, she found simple furniture, the smell of coffee, and framed pictures of the ranch during different seasons. Everything was different from the polished desks and bright screens at her office. Here, real life moved at its own pace. After she settled in, Ryder asked if she wanted to start exploring right away or rest first. Emily chose to explore, excited to capture the soft light of early morning on her camera. Ryder nodded approvingly. "Morning light shows you things you won't see later," he said. She didn't fully understand what he meant yet, but she would soon. They walked toward the open pasture. Emily felt small compared to the large land stretching in every direction. The sun was just rising, casting a golden glow across the grass. The air felt cool and clean. She lifted her camera, already inspired by the peaceful scene. Ryder watched her quietly, letting her capture the moments without interrupting. As they walked farther, Ryder began pointing out small details. Tiny footprints on the ground, the gentle sway of tall grass indicating a hidden breeze, and birds that only appeared at certain hours. Emily realized he wasn't just guiding her around the land, he was teaching her how to see it the way he did. Every detail had a story, and every sound meant something. She listened closely, fascinated. The deeper they went into the ranch, the more Emily understood why photographers loved places like this. It wasn't just the beauty, it was the feeling of space and freedom. There were no horns, no rushing crowds, no bright screens telling her what to do next. She could hear her own heartbeat, her own steps, and the soft whisper of grass brushing her boots. Ryder stopped occasionally to check the soil or look at the sky. He had a habit of pausing, observing, and then walking again. Emily found his calmness comforting. Even though she was far from the city, she didn't feel unsafe. Ryder's presence made everything feel grounded. It was clear he respected the land, and the land seemed to respect him back. As they reached a large pasture, Emily saw horses grazing in the distance. She took several photos, amazed at how peaceful they looked. Ryder told her about each horse, its age, habits, and personality. Emily smiled at how warmly he spoke about them. It showed how much he cared for the ranch and everything on it. They continued walking toward the wooded area at the edge of the property. Emily noticed how the atmosphere slowly changed. The air felt cooler under the shade of the tall trees, and the sounds became softer. Instead of wide, open views, the trees created a natural tunnel that felt mysterious and inviting. Emily raised her camera again, capturing the patterns of sunlight slipping through branches. At one point, they came across a small creek. The water was clear, reflecting the sky like a mirror. Emily knelt down to take photos, amazed at how still and bright everything looked. Ryder told her this creek never dried up even in the hottest months. It had been a water source for wildlife for decades. Emily imagined all the animals that must have come here quietly during early mornings. As they walked farther, Emily became more relaxed. She talked more, asked questions, and laughed at small jokes Ryder made about nature. She noticed that even though Ryder rarely spoke in long sentences, everything he said carried meaning. He didn't waste words. He spoke only when it added something useful or interesting. Emily admired that. In the city, people rushed through conversations. But here, every word had time to settle. By now, she felt confident that the day would go smoothly. She trusted Ryder's guidance and felt comfortable exploring even unfamiliar areas. The sun had climbed higher, spreading soft warmth across the land. Emily felt grateful for the opportunity and for the simple beauty around her. She didn't know that a surprising moment was waiting for her ahead, something she would remember for the rest of her life. For now, she simply followed Ryder deeper into the peaceful land, eager to capture more photos and learn more about the world hidden behind the silence of nature. She had no idea that within the calmness of the morning, something unexpected was lying just below her feet, waiting to be discovered. Emily walked beside Ryder with a comfortable pace. The morning sun was a little higher now, and the shadows of the trees stretched long behind them. The air carried a soft coolness that felt refreshing on her face. She kept her camera ready, taking pictures whenever she saw something interesting. Every small detail felt like a new discovery to her. The shape of the leaves, the colors of the flowers, the way the breeze moved the tall grass. It all felt magical. Ryder walked quietly, but Emily could sense that his silence wasn't emptiness. He was listening to the land around him, paying attention to things she could barely notice. Sometimes he paused for only a second, tilting his head like he heard something she couldn't. Emily admired that. She wished she had such calm awareness. As they moved deeper toward the wooded part of the ranch, she noticed the atmosphere slowly changing. The open pastures behind them were bright and warm, but here the light filtered through leaves, creating shifting patterns on the ground. The sound of birds came from high branches, and the air smelled of damp earth and fresh plants. Emily loved the feeling. It was peaceful, yet full of hidden life. Ryder finally spoke after several minutes of calm walking. "This area is where we sometimes see animals early in the day," he said softly, as if he were sharing a gentle secret. "They like to rest near the shade before the sun gets strong." Emily nodded, excited by the thought. She imagined she might capture a rare picture, a deer maybe, or some smaller forest animal. She lifted her camera, adjusting the settings to balance the dimmer light under the trees. They continued walking until they reached a stretch of land where the grass grew taller. Here, the sun and shade mixed, creating a soft glow. Emily walked carefully, but she felt confident. She wanted to step closer to get better angles for her photos. She didn't notice the slight change in Ryder's expression as he scanned the area around them. Ryder suddenly stopped. Emily took 2 more steps before realizing he was no longer beside her. She turned around, surprised. Ryder's eyes weren't on her. They were fixed on something ahead, or maybe below. His calm face had not changed much, but there was a seriousness in it that she hadn't seen before. Emily froze automatically. Something in his posture told her that stopping was the right thing to do. He wasn't panicking. He wasn't rushing. But there was something in the air, a stillness that made her heartbeat slow down and speed up at the same time. "Don't move," Ryder said in a steady voice. "Just stay still for a moment." Emily felt her stomach drop in confusion. She didn't feel danger, but the tone of his voice made her focus sharply. She looked around, trying to see what he saw. The tall grass swayed lightly around her legs, brushing against her jeans. The wind carried soft sounds of leaves, but nothing unusual. She whispered, "What happened?" Ryder didn't answer immediately. He took slow steps toward her, but not too close. He kept his eyes on the ground, and Emily followed his gaze. But she saw nothing, just uneven grass, patches of dirt, shadows, and sunlight. Then Ryder placed his hand gently in the air, signaling her to stay exactly where she was. Emily felt her chest tighten. She wasn't scared, just confused and alert. She wanted to trust him completely, but not knowing what was wrong made the moment feel heavy. The air around them seemed to hold its breath. Ryder spoke quietly, his voice still calm. "Emily, stay very still. Something's in the grass. It's not dangerous, but it's big. And it's close." Emily felt warmth rush through her body, a natural reaction to uncertainty. She glanced down at the ground again, trying to see what he meant. Her camera felt heavy in her hands. She didn't know whether to lift it, lower it, or just keep holding it the way she was. "What is it?" she asked softly. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he looked at her feet again. Emily followed his eyes, but everything looked the same. Grass, dirt, a few dried leaves, shadows gently moving. Then she saw something she hadn't noticed before, something too subtle for her city-trained eyes. A tiny tremor in the soil. Not a shaking, not a violent movement. Just a soft, slow rise and fall, almost like breathing. Her heart jumped, but she wasn't frightened. She was startled, unsure of what it meant. She looked back at Ryder for guidance. He stayed calm, his voice level. "Don't step back yet. Don't step forward either. Just hold still until I'm sure." Emily's mind raced with harmless possibilities. Maybe a sleeping animal. Maybe the ground was softer than she thought. Maybe she had stepped on a spot that wasn't stable. She wanted to ask more questions, but Ryder's steady expression told her silence was better right now. The trees around them were quiet. Even the birds seemed to pause. Emily had never felt such concentrated stillness in her life. She became aware of everything: her breathing, her weight on the ground, the sound of her heartbeat in her ears. She watched Ryder as he studied the ground. He knelt slowly, keeping his movements gentle. His eyes examined the grass, the shadow lines, the way the soil was shaped. Emily felt a strange mix of awe and nervous curiosity. She had never seen someone read the land like that. Ryder finally lifted his head and looked at her with a calm expression. "Emily," he said softly, "whatever is below you is too big to disturb. You're okay. Just don't move fast." His tone wasn't fearful. It was protective, steady, and confident. It made Emily feel safer, even though she still didn't know what was happening beneath her. She swallowed and asked in a small voice, "Is something under me?" Ryder nodded gently. "Yes, but remember, it's tired, not aggressive, and the ground around you might be softer than it looks." Emily felt a cool wave pass through her body at those words. She didn't panic, but she understood the seriousness. She realized suddenly that this wasn't a normal moment. Something important was unfolding, something she wouldn't forget. Her legs felt a little stiff now, not from fear, but from holding still for so long. The tall grass brushed against her ankles with each breeze, making her aware of every inch of space around her. Ryder stood up slowly, brushing his hands off. "Listen," he said calmly, "I'm going to guide you out from there, but I need you to follow exactly what I say. No quick steps." Emily nodded quickly. She trusted him fully. Ryder took one careful step toward her but stopped before getting too close, likely making sure his own movement didn't disturb the nearby soil. The way he studied every detail made Emily realize how experienced he was. He wasn't guessing. He knew what he was doing. "Look at me," he said gently. Emily raised her eyes, focusing on him instead of the ground. "Good. Now lift your left foot. Just a little. Don't shift all your weight yet." Emily did as he said. She felt the grass brush lightly against her shoe as she slowly adjusted her balance. "Perfect," Ryder said quietly. "Now step backward very slowly. One small step." She followed each word carefully, putting her foot on a firmer patch of ground behind her. When she felt the solid earth beneath that foot, she exhaled softly without meaning to. She didn't even realize she had been holding her breath. Ryder continued guiding her step by step, always calm, always patient. Emily trusted his voice more than the ground beneath her. Each step felt like she was walking through a place that demanded respect. All the while, she still didn't know exactly what was beneath her, but something told her she was moments away from finding out. The quiet tension in the air wasn't frightening. It was mesmerizing. It felt like nature was revealing itself slowly, moment by moment, as Ryder guided her back to safety. And though she didn't fully understand it yet, she was standing at the edge of a discovery that would change. Emily's breath felt lighter as she took another slow step backward. Ryder's calm voice guided her gently, keeping her focused and steady. Each step made her feel closer to safety, but her mind kept returning to the strange movement she had felt under the ground. She still didn't know what was hiding beneath her, and the mystery stirred a mix of curiosity and nervous energy inside her. Ryder lifted his hand slightly, signaling her to pause. Emily stopped right away, trusting his instincts. The air around them remained still, almost holding its breath with them. Even the trees seemed to quiet down, as if nature itself was waiting to see what would happen next. "Good," Ryder said in a soft tone. "You're almost clear of the soft patch, just don't rush." Emily nodded slowly. She didn't want to look down yet, not until Ryder told her to. She focused on the steady strength in his voice. It kept her grounded and calm. "Now," Ryder said, "take one more small step back. Make it slow." She lifted her foot and stepped onto a firmer patch of soil. This time, the ground beneath her felt solid, unmoving. A quiet sigh escaped her lips. Even though she hadn't been in danger, the uncertainty had made her feel strangely weightless. After a moment, Ryder stepped closer, checking the ground where she had been standing. Emily watched his eyes track the shape of the soil, the angle of the grass, the slight dips and curves beneath. He was reading the land the way someone else would read a familiar book. "You can relax your legs," Ryder said gently, noticing the stiffness in her posture. "You're safe now. Just stay where you are." Emily let her shoulders lower and took a deep breath. Her heart rate began to settle, though a spark of curiosity grew even stronger. Something had been beneath her. Something big, Ryder had said. But why was it still? And what exactly was it? She finally asked in a quiet voice, "Can I look down now?" Ryder gave a small nod. "Look carefully. You'll see it now that you're not standing directly over it." Emily stepped a little closer, still on firm ground, and slowly lowered her eyes to the spot where she had been moments ago. At first she saw only grass. Tall green blades swayed gently in the breeze, hiding most of the earth beneath them. But then, as her eyes adjusted, she noticed a small gap in the grass, like a shallow opening where the soil dipped slightly. She squinted, trying to understand what she was seeing. The ground wasn't cracked or broken. It was simply shaped in a way she hadn't noticed before. The grass covered part of it, making the opening look subtle, almost invisible from above. "Take your time," Ryder said quietly. "You'll see it." Emily leaned a little forward, careful not to step too close. Then it happened. Her breath caught softly as her eyes recognized something. A pair of deep, gentle eyes looked up at her, not threatening, not wild, just tired. Her heart warmed with surprise. She blinked to make sure she wasn't imagining it. Through the grass, she could see the outline of a large animal lying in a shallow dip in the earth. The shape became clearer the longer she looked. "Is that an elk?" she whispered. Ryder nodded. "A big one. Looks like it wandered here sometime during the night and slipped into that small depression." Emily stared in amazement. She had seen pictures of elks before, but she had never been this close to one, especially not in such an unexpected way. The animal's body was mostly hidden, but she could see its strong shoulders and the curve of its back. It lay quietly, its breathing slow and steady. "It doesn't look upset," Emily said softly. "It's tired," Ryder explained. "Probably confused, maybe a little weak, but it doesn't seem hurt. That's why I didn't want you to move suddenly. Sudden movements can startle animals, even gentle ones. And the ground around that dip is soft. You could have slipped, or it might have sunk a bit more." Emily felt a gentle shiver at the thought. She hadn't realized the ground beneath her had been unstable, and she definitely hadn't known she was standing directly above a resting animal. It was a strange and humbling feeling. She glanced at Ryder. "How did you know something was there?" He gave a small smile. The soil was slightly raised and breathing with the animal's movements. Most people don't notice things like that unless they spend years around open land. Emily admired his skill. She realized that while she had been looking for big, obvious moments to photograph, Ryder was tuned into the small, quiet signs that nature revealed only to those who paid close attention. Emily crouched down slowly, still keeping a respectful distance, to get a better look. The elk's eyes blinked gently, calm but alert. Its long eyelashes fluttered slightly, and Emily felt a wave of tenderness. She wasn't scared. She felt connected, almost honored, to witness such a quiet moment of nature so closely. "It's beautiful," she said in a hushed voice. "It is," Ryder agreed. "And it's lucky you didn't disturb it. Animals like this need rest, especially after roaming all night." Emily nodded, still captivated by the peaceful creature beneath her. She felt a mix of relief and amazement. The situation could have been surprising in many ways, but instead, it had become a moment of calm discovery. "Should we help it out?" she asked gently. "Yes," Ryder said, "but not alone. We need a few hands to make sure the animal gets out safely without stressing it. And we need to make sure the ground doesn't collapse more." Ryder stepped back and took out the small radio he carried on his belt. He called a few workers from the ranch, explaining the situation briefly. His voice stayed steady and thoughtful, never raising or rushing. While they waited, Emily continued observing the elk. She noticed how still it remained, its body rising and falling softly with each breath. It didn't seem frightened, not of her, not of the land around it. It simply looked tired, like someone resting after a long journey. Emily felt grateful that Ryder had sensed the animal before anything could go wrong. She realized how important experience and patience were in a place like this. "You really understand this land," Emily said quietly. Ryder glanced at her with a humble smile. "I've spent my whole life here. The land teaches you things if you listen." Emily smiled back. She felt lucky to be learning from him, even if it was through unexpected moments like this. She knew she would remember this experience long after the assignment ended. Soon, the sound of distant footsteps approached through the trees. 3 ranch workers walked toward them, carrying simple tools and ropes. They greeted Ryder and listened as he explained the situation. They studied the spot carefully, speaking softly to avoid startling the elk. Ryder turned to Emily. "You can step a little farther back now just to give them space. They'll work quietly." Emily nodded and moved to a safer distance, but she continued watching, fascinated by the calm teamwork taking place. The workers made soft signals to one another, each step gentle and respectful. They treated the animal not as a problem, but as a living being deserving care. The elk didn't struggle or panic. It simply watched them with large, steady eyes, as if sensing their calm intentions. Emily felt a warm wave of admiration. She realized she had never witnessed such patient, coordinated effort in her city life. Everything here felt thoughtful. As the workers prepared to help the elk out of the dip, Emily understood something deeper. Nature held surprises, but not all surprises were dangerous. Some were quiet, gentle moments that reminded people to slow down, pay attention, and respect the world beneath their feet. She felt grateful for this moment, and even more grateful that she had trusted Ryder's calm voice. Without it, she would never have discovered the incredible creature resting silently just below her. The land had revealed a secret, and Emily felt changed by it, quietly and beautifully. Emily stood a few steps back, watching the ranch workers prepare everything they needed. Even though they carried ropes and soft straps, none of their movements were rushed. They spoke in low voices, each one making sure they understood their task clearly. The calmness in their behavior made her feel relaxed, too. She realized they had likely handled many situations like this before. The elk lay quietly in the shallow dip, blinking slowly. Its breathing was soft and steady. Emily felt relieved that it wasn't in pain or frightened. She admired the gentle strength of the animal, how it stayed peaceful even though people were moving around it. Ryder stood beside the workers, explaining the shape of the ground and the safest way to help the elk out without causing any stress. His voice was clear but gentle, and everyone listened carefully. It was clear he had earned their trust through years of experience. Emily watched the scene with deep interest. She had come to the ranch expecting beautiful pictures and open landscapes, but she had not imagined witnessing such a delicate moment of teamwork and care. This was a side of ranch life she had never seen before, one filled with patience, respect, and quiet responsibility. After a few minutes of planning, the workers slowly approached the dip from different angles. They made sure their steps were soft so they wouldn't shake the loose soil. Then, with calm and careful movements, they positioned the straps around the elk. The animal didn't resist. It simply looked at them with gentle eyes, as if it understood they were helping. Emily felt her heart warm at the sight. She took a few pictures from a distance, wanting to capture the moment without disturbing it. The photos showed the peaceful cooperation between humans and nature, a story far more meaningful than anything she had expected to photograph. Ryder looked over at her and gave a small nod, as if telling her she was doing great. Emily smiled back. She appreciated how he communicated even without many words. When everything was ready, the workers began to lift the elk slowly. It was a steady process, not rushed. The animal shifted its weight, trying to help itself rise. Its strong legs moved gently, guided by the hands supporting it. Emily held her breath as the elk finally lifted out of the dip and stood on solid ground. It swayed slightly at first, regaining balance. Ryder took a careful step forward, watching it closely to make sure it was steady. The elk stood still for a moment, breathing deeply as if gathering itself after a long rest. Its dark eyes scanned the trees and the open land ahead. Then, in one smooth motion, it turned and walked toward the forest. Not fast, just with quiet dignity. The tall grass brushed against its sides as it disappeared among the trees. Emily felt a wave of relief and joy. It was a simple moment, but it touched her deeply. She had never witnessed such a quiet rescue. No fear, no chaos, just calm cooperation and respect for a living creature. The workers smiled at each other, satisfied with the smooth rescue. One of them clapped Ryder gently on the shoulder. Good thing you spotted it early, he said. Ryder nodded with a small smile. Just paying attention, he replied. Emily walked toward Ryder, her steps light. That was incredible, she said softly. I've never seen anything like that. Ryder looked at her with calm eyes. Nature teaches a lot if you slow down and watch, he said. Most people move too fast to notice the quiet things. Emily felt those words settle deep inside her. She realized how true they were, not just in nature, but in life. She often rushed from one task to another, jumping from one assignment to the next. But here, on this quiet ranch, she had learned the power of stillness and awareness. They began walking back toward the ranch house, the morning sun now warmer on their backs. The path felt different now. Emily saw things she hadn't noticed before, the tiny footprints of small animals, the soft line of a stream farther away, the gentle bend of the grass where the wind touched it. She felt like her eyes had opened wider. As they walked, Ryder told her small stories about the ranch, times when animals wandered too far, times when workers found surprises in the fields, and times when nature taught them lessons they never expected. His voice stayed calm, but Emily could hear the deep respect he had for the land. She listened closely, fascinated by every detail. The stories weren't dramatic or loud. They were simple, peaceful, and full of meaning. When they reached the ranch house, Emily felt a sense of comfort, like she had just returned from a journey she would remember forever. She sat on the porch steps, letting the warmth of the sunlight settle into her skin. Ryder stood nearby, adjusting the tools he carried. After a few minutes of quiet, Emily spoke softly. "Thank you for guiding me today," she said. "I know I might have panicked if you hadn't been so calm." Ryder sat down on the step beside her. "You did well," he said. "You trusted the moment. That matters." Emily looked out at the open land. "I think this experience changed something inside me," she admitted. "I never realized how much nature can teach you without saying a word." Ryder nodded. "Most lessons here don't come with noise," he said. "They come with silence." Emily smiled. She felt peaceful in a way she hadn't felt in years. The city always pushed her to move faster, to do more, to always be ahead of something. But here, she had learned that slowing down could reveal things she never imagined, like an elk resting beneath her feet, or the careful balance of the land, or the steady presence of someone who understood how to read the world quietly. After resting for a bit, Emily took out her camera and looked through the photos she had taken. The images told a story she felt proud of. Pictures of the open fields, the soft morning light, the tall trees, and the teamwork that had rescued a tired animal. She realized that her article would now carry more heart than she originally planned. It wouldn't just be about the ranch's beauty, it would be about the deep connection between people and nature. She walked to the wooden fence and leaned on it, watching the horses grazing peacefully in the distance. She felt grateful, not only for the pictures, but for the gentle lesson the land had given her. She knew she would carry this memory for the rest of her life. Ryder joined her at the fence, resting his arms on the top rail. They stood in comfortable silence for a long moment, sharing the view of the peaceful land. Emily finally spoke. "I'll never forget what happened today." Ryder gave a small smile. "That's how the land works," he said. "It gives you moments you don't forget." Emily nodded. She took a deep breath, letting the calm air fill her lungs. She felt grounded, steady, and grateful. As the sun continued its rise and the land brightened, Emily realized something quietly powerful. Sometimes the most unexpected moments teach the most valuable lessons. Sometimes the best stories come from stillness. And sometimes the most unforgettable experiences happen when you slow down enough to notice what lies just below the surface. With a soft smile, she lifted her camera again. This time, She wasn't just capturing the land, she was capturing a memory, one that would stay with her forever.